Hello, this is the Peng Sports Podcast, episode 27 with Kamaal Daniels. Week 1 of school done. Day 1 of September is still loading. Guys, it's 7:42 a.m. And I didn't start the Peng Sports Podcast late today because I was being lazy or I was tired. Primarily because it was raining outside. And with the rain and the audio, I didn't want to mess it up. So we're starting a little bit later. It may get posted a little bit later today, but we're still getting through it. Week 1 of school done, as I said. Good week of school. Successful, productive week of school. And what did I learn from my first week of school? Well, what I learned was something very simple, very basic. And that is, I do not like scary movies. Yes, I learned I do not like scary movies in week 1. Not in school, but I learned that about myself. I just don't like it. I can't do it, And being a black man's already scary enough. To be completely honest with you, I don't need any more shocks in my life. I bring this up because I was offered to see the movie Candyman. And usually, in those situations when I'm offered something, I beat around the bush. Maybe. Potentially. I'll check my schedule. But here, with scary movies and Candyman, I said no. No, I can't do it. I was very blunt and concise with my answer. And sometimes bluntness, people, is the way to go. So don't be scared to be blunt. But pick your moments. From being blunt with Candyman, I will be blunt with my transition to the Premier League. What a week. What a week of the Premier League. If I were to ever tell someone, watch a weekend of football to put someone on to football, or watch a week of the Premier League to put someone on the Premier League, this would be the week. Week 3 would be the week I would tell people. West Ham Palace 2-2. Leicester City Norwich 2-1. And one comment about the Premier League and their scheduling. Norwich City has played Liverpool, City, and Leicester. And they play Arsenal next. I think you should give a newly promoted team like Norwich a break, a little break, something, Liverpool, City, two juggernauts, two of the past 2 champions first 2 weeks. Champions favorites the first 2 weeks. You got Europa League favorite, Champions League contender in the 3rd week. In the 4th week, you have one of the all-time greatest clubs in Premier League history in Arsenal, who we'll get to later with Manchester City Arsenal. But don't you just think it's a little unfair the way the Premier League treats Norwich City? Give them a chance. I don't care who you are. If Liverpool played, let's say Liverpool played Chelsea, City, and Leicester the first 3 weeks, they would get points. But they wouldn't have 7 points like they do now, I believe. I'm just saying, don't mess up your teams like this. You don't want to set teams up for failure. I somewhat understand the Arsenal thing. You need something to talk about the first few weeks of the season. But Norwich, when you start out bad like this, it can really hinder a side. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, Wolves versus United, very entertaining 1-0 game. 0-0 for most of the game. Manchester United had one chance, really. One clear-cut chance. Pogba looked good in the midfield. I say that because Varane started. So my prediction, of course, was Varane shears up the defense so they can be a little bit more fluid in the midfield. They can interchange Fred and McTominay, They can even interchange McTominay with Pogba. It just depends. But Varane's huge in the cohesion of the back line, if that makes sense. So, yeah. Varane looks good. First clean sheet. Pogba looked good. Bruno Fernandes looked good. Greenwood looked good. And I think someone else is coming. I don't know. I don't really know who's coming. But Sancho didn't have a phenomenal debut, but it's his first debut in the Premier League. I'm not too worried about it. And Varane, when you play center back, you're sort of going to be set up for success, especially when you have Maguire to the right of you, and Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw all playing in form, playing well. Sancho, wingers is an interesting game because they're sort of on an island, which is a good thing. They can do what they want, but they also don't have, I guess, the support like a midfielder would have or a defender would have. But from Manchester United to Manchester City versus Arsenal, that was the first game at 7:30 Eastern a.m. And it was Saturday morning, and I am in college, so you can assume how me watching that game went, I think. But I did rewatch the game, and the game was sort of similar to the Chelsea game, if you watched it. Manchester City, I just believe, are a little bit more disrespectful, where they're going to have 90% of the possession. I believe Arsenal didn't have... I remember reading a statistic. They said they had a limited number of touches in the attacking third or attacking half of Manchester City. I saw that stat, but 5-0. Somewhat men's against boys. Arsenal still had their moments. Just like against Chelsea. They had their moments. I'm not... Anyways, I'll get to that. 3 of the goals came from when Xhaka came out the game. Maybe they would have scored 3 even with Xhaka in the game. I don't know. But these aren't excuses. It's context, guys. It's the truth, right? They had their moments. Manchester City scored 3 of the goals when Xhaka was out the game. What happened against Chelsea? They scored 2 goals in pretty quick succession, sort of like Manchester City. And then they held them the rest of the game, right? So, yes. Is Manchester City a better team than Arsenal? Yes. Is Arsenal in a rebuilding process? Yes. Did Arsenal look totally, completely hopeless against City? No. Not totally, completely hopeless. Totally, completely hopeless. Norwich City. They looked totally, completely hopeless against Manchester City. Didn't really even look threatening at all. Didn't see the whole game of the Norwich City game, so I can't necessarily say with 100% confidence they look totally, completely hopeless. But Arsenal had their moments. And again, it's a rebuilding process. But Manchester City, they won 5-0. And 2 of those goals came from Torres. And I'm starting to see Manchester City get a little bit more faith in Torres. You know, again, scored a brace against Arsenal. Looked good against Norwich. Maybe, just maybe, Manchester City have a striker. He does not slow up Manchester City like they had. That was their concern with Harry Kane coming, him slowing up Manchester City. Torres doesn't do that. He knows the system. He doesn't have to be the focal point of the offense. They can switch Torres and Gabriel Jesus if they want to change things up in the middle of the game. They can switch him with Riyad Mahrez. He's a decent finisher. I can't call him a clinical finisher because I haven't seen him enough. But I think Manchester City have found their striker. We should start the hashtag Ferland Torres Manchester City striker 2020. That's a long hashtag. But I do believe they found the striker. I think the reason why they didn't totally commit to Ronaldo and they didn't totally commit to Harry Kane was they knew they needed Grealish more than Kane, I believe. I really think that. Because the striker issue was only an issue in the Champions League final and against Spurs this year. So the first game of the season and in the Champions League final, striker was an issue. And no matter who lost that game, there was going to be some kind of huge issue. Right? If Chelsea would have lost that game, what would have been the issue? Probably striker. And the same thing would have happened. But this season, well, they got a striker, but this season, no one was on Chelsea's back about getting a striker, if that made sense. Right? Because they won this final. If Manchester City had won the final, no one would have really been on their back about getting a striker. It would have been in the same, I guess, the same thing that happened to Chelsea would have happened to Manchester City, I believe. Oh, they didn't get a striker, they're good. They won the Champions League final, Premier League last year. Carabao Cup, really the Manchester City Cup. Right? It's reference, people. It's where you view a situation. I just believe Manchester City don't need a striker because the system is built for false nine someone. It's built for interchanging. It's a fluid system, sort of like the Dutch system back when Johan Cruyff was a player, where it was ever-changing. Wing backs will go to center backs will go to midfielders become strikers will become wingers, God, that was 1970s, 1960s if I'm not mistaken. Johan Cruyff Netherlands team made the World Cup final. I could be wrong. Again, I will say it again and I'll say it again. I need this point to be emphasized. That's why I'm saying it. Arsenal was playing a team who was more experienced and better. And once Arsenal get more experienced and better, they will be able to, you saw those moments that you saw, those moments will not be 5 minutes, but there'll be 10 minutes. Those moments won't be 10 minutes, they'll be 20 minutes. Those moments won't be 20 minutes, they'll be for a whole half. Those moments won't be for a whole half, they'll be for 80 minutes. Right? Against Chelsea, they had their moments where they looked phenomenal. They didn't start Lukongo. That was my problem. The only problem I had with Arsenal last game. But again, more experience, more time, more chemistry. You don't fire the coach. Arsenal will be back. They will win a Premier League before Spurs, in my opinion. Spurs top of the league, 9 points, just to let you guys know. In 2 weeks or week after next, whatever you want to call it, if they lose 5-0 to Norwich City, then okay. I'll put my hands up and say, maybe Arteta isn't the answer. But they beat West Brom 6-0, a team they were supposed to beat 6-0. I think if Arteta beat the teams he's supposed to beat, I think it's time to get off his back and let Arsenal mature a little bit before we blow this whole thing up. Right? Because having consistency is way more important than having a good system sometimes. Having consistency is way more important than having the new best scheme. It's just how it is sometimes. Right? Consistency is key, everyone. Consistency is key. 2 consistent teams in the Premier League last year. In probably the last 5 years, probably the most, outside of Manchester City, the most consistent teams that played last week. Liverpool versus Chelsea. Again, scheduling Premier League, man. Have Arsenal, Chelsea Saturday at 12. Liverpool, Chelsea Sunday at 11:30. Something along those lines, man. But having Liverpool, Chelsea, same day as Manchester City, Arsenal, I find that poor scheduling, to be completely honest with you. I literally saw, this is my little tirade on scheduling in the Premier League. I literally saw Arsenal City 7:30, and I thought that was going to be the game of the week. Luckily, Chelsea, Liverpool played. But if I think this is game of the week, I'm going to assume my brain is going to configure itself to have waking up at 11:30, being refreshed, writing good notes for the game, all that. But now all of a sudden you change up the system and it's 7:30, scheduling Premier League. I know you're in England, but Norwich City shouldn't play Liverpool, Manchester City, and Leicester City the first 3 weeks. Arsenal and Manchester City should be a little bit later of a game because those are two big clubs in the Premier League. Liverpool, Chelsea should have been a little bit more prime time-ish. Sunday instead of Wolves United. Have Wolves United 7:30. Chelsea, Liverpool 11:30 on a Sunday, and then City, Arsenal 12:30. Easier said than done. I know you have a busy schedule, but I expect more from you. If you're the best club in the world, best league in the world, show it. Not shots. But anyways, Chelsea, Liverpool. Chelsea look good, man. You can tell a good team on how they look when their back's against the wall. And against Liverpool for the first 20 minutes, they looked overmatched and outplayed. They somehow scored a goal off a corner. Kai Havertz playing phenomenal this year. You know, as soon as they scored that goal, the game totally flipped. Liverpool had their moments, but even after Liverpool scored, Chelsea still looked in control, right? Chelsea definitely had have a chance to win the Premier League. Definitely. They looked the best team in the league so far. Liverpool looked good as well. They're my pick. The thing about Liverpool is I don't think they figured it out. I don't think they have an identity going forward. Do we go through Salah? Is he our focal point? He's our best player. Salah's not that kind of guy, I believe, though. I don't know him, but he doesn't seem the kind of guy where I think Salah can. If Salah could go a whole year and score 9 goals and have 18 assists, and I believe he'd be happy with it. I do. I really do. But is Salah the focal point? Are they relying on their wingbacks like Robertson and Alexander Arnold, to provide the offense? Or they a transition team? What are we? They can play all those systems, I believe, though, offensively. Going on the offensive. Going forward. But what do they do good enough to win the Premier League? And I don't know. Do I think they'll figure it out? Yes, they have top 5 manager in the world, right? Top 3 manager in the Premier League, top 5 manager in the world. I didn't want to think that I'm retracting my statement. Anyways, they're good enough to win the Premier League, but they're just going to have to figure some things out. And it's week 3 of the Premier League, and like Arsenal, they have time. Like every other team, they have time. I don't know a Premier League team that's won the Premier League in week 3. They could have, maybe, set down their foot, lay down the marker, because I guarantee you Spurs will not be winning the Premier League this season. And if they do, it's the second most important Premier League season ever outside of Leicester City, right? Anyways, one thing that Liverpool is not lacking is on the defensive end of the game. Virgil van Dijk had my man Lukaku, my favorite player, one of my favorite players, eating out of his hands, as the great Dennis Rodman would say. Van Dijk controlled Lukaku. And Matip just swept it up, cleaned it up. You know, they get all these new center backs, and it's still Van Dijk and Matip, and I find it hilarious. They get... It's still Matip. You know, a lot of people are Matips. A lot of you guys are Matips. And you guys give yourselves either too little credit and don't call yourself a Matip, or you give yourself too much credit and you call yourself a Van Dijk. And a lot of people are Matips, and it's really good being a Matip. Just embrace your Matipness. Solid, cleans things up. Van Dijk's going to get all the credit. Van Dijk loves Matip. You know? Matip's the kind of guy where bosses love him. They love him. He's not going to talk too much. You know? Matip. Underrated, if I do say so myself. 2 people play center back people. And it wasn't always squeaky clean with Van Dijk at the back because they didn't know his partner. Gomez. Everyone raves about Gomez. Still Matip. Anyways. Once Liverpool figures out that midfield, man. Not the midfield, the midfield. And the tactics going forward. They're going to be very, very dangerous. Klopp will figure it out. As I said, top 5 manager in the world, top 3 manager in the Premier League. Maybe they can start Thiago over Henderson. Maybe. Henderson's a stalwart at the back, so in the midfield, so it's sort of a reach. If they don't start, I'm not going to complain, but a little bit more creativity in the midfield, right? They're sort of relying on a guy who's phenomenal, Harvey Elliott, who's really comfortable in the Premier League. Something I can't understand. I can't even say words right now. What? He's 18. And he's like 5'8". And to my last little statement on this Premier League weekend. Well, not this Premier League weekend, but more specifically on Chelsea-Liverpool. There's an apology in order. An apology for a man I've been a little skeptical of. A man that I thought was the product of N'Golo Kante. And that man is Mason Mount. He is what you call a dirty player. A cold player. He is a very, very, very good player, and I was a skeptic, and I apologize. Played phenomenal against Liverpool. Played well in spurts for England. Well last year for Chelsea. But I wasn't a believer. Now I'm a believer. And I know I'm late to the train. But please accept my ticket onto the train. Because Mason Mount is a very good player. And I apologize for not believing in him. Mason Mount, you are who we thought you were. A baller. And I apologize for being a skeptic. Anyways, nothing really happened in the Champions League. Not in the Champions League, transfer market. Ronaldo went to United. Griezmann went back to Atletico. For some reason now, I believe Atletico are Champions League favorites. One of the Champions League favorites. Real Madrid got a French wonder kid. Not named Mbappe. Camavinga. Leipzig got Isaac Morabi. He's going to be pretty good one day. I'm just saying. Chelsea got Saul. Got another midfielder. As I said, nothing really happened in the Premier League this season. The transfer market this year. Really uneventful. I'm sort of disappointed. Expect to see more, But whatever. Everton beat Brighton 2-0. Context. And Trevor Lawrence won the starting position. He will not be coming off the bench. He will be starting for the Jaguars in the regular season. And he looked good, man. He looked good against the Jaguars. For the Jaguars, against the Cowboys. And he looked solid against the Saints. He looks solid. And he's making me more and more confident in my pick for the AFC South. If you didn't know, it was the Jacksonville Jaguars. Why? I don't know. You answer that question. And I know what you're thinking. Kamaal, you have predictions on the AFC. So will you predict the NFC? And the answer to that question is yes. Yes, I will. Before I do that, I have to excuse myself. Don't worry about it. I'm all right. But I have to excuse myself. And I'm going to have you listen to my boy Austin as I excuse myself. Personal issue. I will be back. Just, semantics. He's going to give you the picks on the whole NFL. He's not lazy like me. He's going to do the whole thing. Making his Peng Sports debut, I give you Austin.
What's up, guys? My name is Austin Hall. So I'm new on this podcast. I'm a little feature today. Today I'm going to be giving you some predictions about who I think will win the NFL divisions and who ultimately will be in the championship and who will win. So first, I'm going to start off with the AFC East. Now, this is going to be an interesting division this year. The Patriots, of course, cut Cam. I don't know if that was the best move, but see how it works out. You also got the Dolphins and the Jets in here. But my pick for this one is the Bills. Josh Allen's gotten better every year. Stephon Diggs, top 5 wide receiver, arguably a solid defense. So I'm going to pick the Bills for the AFC East to go in. They might even be a number 1 or 2 seed for the playoffs this year. So that's what I'm going to pick for that. The AFC North. The AFC North is going to be another tough division. The Bengals, I don't think really have a chance. I think they need to get their offensive line together before they can really worry about being a contender. The Ravens lost a lot with Perryman, but now when they lost J.K. Dobbins, I think that's a really big hit to them when those two combined. But Lamar will always, you can never really count out Lamar, so I think that it's going to be a good hunt in the AFC North. But ultimately, I think the Browns will come out with it. Baker has been playing good. Odell's going to come back. Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb is arguably the best 1-2 punch at running back in the league. And the Steelers, I don't know, man. Big Ben's getting a little old, but we never know. They might pick someone up. Or maybe they might pick up Cam. You never know. But I think the Browns are going to win the AFC North. Now, for the AFC South, I think this is the most wide-open division in the AFC, in my opinion, just because no team really asserts dominance any year. The Jags are going to have a tough time, I think, because of their offensive line struggles, and Trevor's going to have to get a little bit used to the league, but we never know. But in this one, I think that the Titans will come out with this one. That offense is loaded. Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Julio. I mean, that's a 3-headed snake in itself right there. Tannehill might not be, superstar, but he can definitely make some plays. And I guess we're going to have to see what that defense is made out of, because that was their Achilles heel a little bit last year. But I think the Titans can make a push, and I think they'll win the AFC South. But the Colts definitely have a chance with that defense. Darius Leonard is a very great linebacker. The AFC West, I just don't see anyone beating the Chiefs. I don't see anyone coming through there and beating Mahomes or anyone enough to really knock them out of the playoffs. The Chargers have a great quarterback in Justin Herbert, a great young talent. The Raiders, I just don't see the Raiders happening. They're not a bad team, but that's a hard division. The Broncos, Teddy, we'll see how he does this year, and they're going to have a good defense, of course, but I just really don't see anyone beating the Chiefs. I don't. All right, and now we're going to go to the NFC. Now, this right here, ladies and gentlemen, the NFC East. We all know about the NFC East. I don't really know who to pick with this. Everybody always says the Cowboys, but the thing with the Cowboys is they learn how to lose at this point. I don't know. The Giants are going to have a big struggle this year, I think, even with Saquon back. They just don't have the pieces, in my opinion. The Eagles will have a struggle as well. That roster's not as talented. So I think it'll come down between the Cowboys and the Washington football team, only because the Washington football team has a great, great defense. A lot of youth on that team. But the quarterback play is the question. Fitzpatrick, will he be the person we need? Will he be Fitzmagic? What will we get? What's Ryan Fitzpatrick what we get? And he's also way older than what he used to be. Now, as much as this pains me to say, I think the Cowboys might win the division. That offense is going to be great. Dak looks like he'll be all right. And last year, if he has even half of what he did last year, they'll have a good thing. The problem is that defense. We know they drafted Parsons. Got some other pieces. But will they step up when it's time? If they do, the Cowboys will definitely get that division. No questions asked. The NFC North. The NFC North has my Rookie of the Year pick. I believe that Justin Fields will win Rookie of the Year. Even though he might not be named the day one starter, I think he's going to play eventually. And I don't think it's a bad idea only because that offensive line struggle. But I think the NFC North will have the Rookie of the Year in Justin Fields. If Justin Fields wins Rookie of the Year, though, I believe that they can make a strong push for the playoffs. Now, with that being said, I don't think anyone's beating the Packers. Not with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is, you could say he's top 3 quarterback in the league, and I don't think that's a question. Him, Brady, and Mahomes. I don't think anybody's coming in there to beat A-Rod and the Packers, especially with that running back core. They always have a decent defense, so I don't think that's going to change or slack or anything like that. I don't see the Lions really doing it that much in the NFC North. Vikings, great. Love Dalvin Cook. Love him. But I just don't see it. Jefferson's a great player as well. I just don't know about the Vikings. I think the Packers are going to make another push through the NFC North. NFC South. Now, I am really excited to see this. I've always been a fan of Jameis Winston. I'm excited that he got the day one start position. Even though I think that the Saints are going to make a wild card position. They're going to make the wild card. I believe that. I wholeheartedly do. Only because the only reason they're not going to win the division is because Tampa Bay and Tom Brady and that defense. They have all their starters coming back. A Super Bowl team with all their starters coming back with another year to jail. They're going to be really hard to beat. They're going to be really, really hard to beat. The NFC West. This division is a toss-up. This division right here is a toss-up when it comes to the playoff picture. Every team on here is good. Every team, the 49ers, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the Rams. The Niners, we know their quarterback stuff. I think Trey Lance is going to eventually start playing. I think he gives them the best chance to win. The Cardinals, Kyler, they added J.J. Watt. It's going to be exciting to see what he does. Also, they have A.J. Green, which is a nice second or third option behind DeAndre Hopkins, who is, to me, the best receiver in the league right now, DeAndre Hopkins. The Seahawks, of course, they have Russell Wilson, who can always make things happen. You can never count him out. Problem with the Seahawks is the pass rush. How will the defensive backfield do? Can Adams stay healthy? We know Bobby Wagner is going to always be a strong force in that center of the defense. And the Rams. The Rams are very, very interesting because with Matt Stafford now, I think it just takes them to another level. That Cam Akers injury is going to hurt them. That Cam Akers injury will hurt them. But I believe that they can make something happen. But with that being said, I want to say that the Rams are going to win it. I think the Rams can win the NFC West with Stafford as quarterback now. And that defense, Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, how could I forget about that? And there's other names across the board, but when you have those two, I don't really see anyone beating that team consistently enough once they learn how to play together. Now, as for the NFC Championship, I believe that it is going to be the Rams and the Packers. Only because I think Aaron Rodgers is going to make a statement in his last year. Because I don't think he's going to come back to Green Bay with all the stuff that's been going on. So I think it'll be those two teams. Ultimately, I think the Packers will get to the bowl. I think that's how that'll work out. As for the AFC, I believe in the championship it's going to be the Bills and the Browns, honestly. I think the Browns and the Bills will be the one in it. I think the Bills will make it this time. I think they'll finally get it. We're going to see a great battle in the Super Bowl. Bills and Packers. I wouldn't be surprised to see that at all. That's who I think. And I think it's going to be the Cinderella. I think Aaron Rodgers' his possible last year at Green Bay is going to show them what they're missing. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to get it. They were so close last year, but Tom Brady and them just came in and rolled through Lambeau. But I think this is the year that the Packers will do it, and I think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers' year. So those are my predictions. Might be a little wrong. Might have to come back after the first week. But thank you guys for listening. I'm going to pass it back to Kamaal.
Yeah, Austin won't be on the podcast anymore. He will not be on the podcast anymore, you guys. He picked the Titans to win the AFC South. He didn't agree with, any of my AFC picks. The NFC was a little bit better, but you can't disagree with me. You can't disagree with the person who hosts the podcast. Because I know the most. I'm the NFL expert. You don't disagree with me, Austin. How dare you? How dare thou? But anyways, man, give Austin a round of applause. Did a phenomenal job on his Peng Sports debut. When I listened to the audio, honestly, I was shocked. Not because Austin doesn't articulate his words properly or convey his opinions well. Not because of that, just because I remember my first episode. You guys remember the Peng Sports Podcast episode 1? You probably don't. Check it out on SoundCloud. Not on YouTube, it's on SoundCloud. Anyways, just really phenomenal by Austin. Good job, man. But NFC, my predictions, my expert opinions. Predictions. Most likely on American football and other sports I don't know a lot about. Like ping pong. Predictions. Let's start with how Austin started out, the NFC East. And I'm choosing Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys. And if you could have a rebuilding conference, I know they have rebuilding franchises, but if you could have a rebuilding conference, it would be the NFC East. From the Giants to the Cowboys, the Redskins, the Washington football team. Excuse my French. But Dallas is one of the most complete teams in the league. A team with an offensive line. And an offensive line is like finding a Riolu in Pokemon. It's a rarity. Possible, but it's a rarity. It's not no legendary Pokemon, but it's a rarity to find a Riolu. Their completeness and their O-line, along with Dak playing well, will be enough to win the division and eventually make the Super Bowl. Yes, the Dallas Cowboys will be in Super Bowl 22. I don't know what Super Bowl it is, 53, 54, 55, maybe 56. But Super Bowl 2022, the Baltimore Ravens and the Dallas Cowboys will play each other. Dak is ready. Zeke has found his footing again. Those two playing well will only instill confidence, and you all know what happens when you have confidence. I believe it's the key to life. Not the answer to life, but the key to life. when you're talking to your crush, riding a bike, or even doing a podcast. If you have confidence in yourself and you prepare, the sky is not the limit, but is only the beginning. So have confidence in yourself, everyone. Right? Try it out. Try it. Just try it. Try the confidence thing. Right? See, this is why I like to pick football, man. It's a feeling, man. It's a feeling, bro. No semantics, just feelings. Semantics is not a word to describe the NFC North, though. The Vikings will be good this year. They have a top-tier running back in Dalvin Cook. Cousins is not going to win you a game. I take that back. He's not going to will you to a victory, but he won't lose you a game. And sometimes that's all you need when you have a great running back. If he keeps on this trajectory, I call him great because he can become a Hall of Famer if Dalvin Cook keeps this up. They probably have a top 3, maybe the best wide receiver tandem in the NFL. You could argue CeeDee Lamb, Amari. You can argue Tennessee, Julio and AJ. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are probably going to be really good for Cincinnati. Cleveland tandem is going to be solid, but they just haven't shown me enough, so I can't put them above the Vikings. But they haven't shown me enough yet. Keyword yet. They can go off this year, and they Cleveland, as Austin said, have one of the best tandems in the backfield and can have one of the best tandems in the wide field. You like that? Yeah? No? Is that not proper football terminology? Wide field? You should add it if you have backfield. I'm just saying. But anyways, Thielen, Chase, not Thielen and Chase, but Thielen and Jefferson will be very good next year. The top tandem probably in the league. I think they'll be really good. Both at least 800-yard receivers. They have a chance to make the wild card, 100%. Lions also have a chance to make the wild card. Chicago Bears also have a chance to make the wild card. NFC North is going to be very interesting. But the team who's going to win the NFC North, and Austin's pick to win the Super Bowl, will be the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, whose wife was phenomenal in Big Little Lies. I saw that last week. I know I'm a little late, but very good show. A lot of things going on in that show, but it wasn't too much, wasn't too little. Highly recommend it. Big Little Lies, HBO Max. But as Austin said, man, Aaron Rodgers is just too much for the NFL, and he's just too much for the NFC East. Is he too much for the NFC South? He's not too much for the NFC East because Dallas are going to beat him in the playoffs. But anywho, NFC South. Another reason why Austin will not be on this podcast again is because he's taken all my picks. He's taking all my takes. I'm excited to see Famous Jameis as well. Back in action. The Saints are going to be one of the most intriguing teams to watch in the NFL. I believe they will be competitive. I believe they'll probably be the Bucs once, and I also believe they're going to win the division. Why am I not trusting the Bucs? I don't know. After a lifetime of seeing Tom Brady dominate the league, you would assume that I would learn my lesson. Bucs are making the playoffs, but the Saints are winning the division. Like last year. Exactly like last year. Except the Saints won't beat them twice. Panthers and Falcons will be good teams. NFC's a really good division, man. I think the Eagles and the Washington football team are going to be good. The Giants are even going to be good. For a rebuilding process, those are 3 rebuilding processes where I believe have a future. Chase Young in Washington. Jalen Hurts, I think, is going to be very good. The Giants with Saquon back. Daniel Jones is going to be very good. NFC, man. But NFC West, man. Falcons and Panthers. Let me speak on them real quick. Not their year this year. They're going to be a little bit like Brentford in the Premier League. But unlike the Premier League and the NFL, just staying afloat gets you cut or gets you fired. So it's sort of going to be a weird little place for them, right? But I do believe in 2 to 3 years, one of those teams, if not both of those teams, will be in playoff contention and in division winning contention, if that's a proper wording for it. Because Tom Brady, I don't know, maybe in 2 or 3 years he'll still be playing. But anyways, NFC West. I'm picking the team I've been the most critical of, probably in all of Peng Sports Podcast, all of the history of it. No matter every team, from Premier League to basketball to WNBA to Olympics to college basketball. Probably the most critical team I've been most critical of has been the Seattle Seahawks. And that's why I'm picking them to win the series. The series of the division series. I didn't get my sports confused. But yeah, I got the Seahawks winning the division. Right? And no offensive line, no problem. See, the Seahawks are like the Migos because they have culture. And culture is something that I think only the Seahawks and the Dolphins, maybe the Bills, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe the Bills have culture. But it's a rarity. Now, if offensive lines were like Riolu, then having culture is like having culture is like getting Mew in Pokemon. Anyone who has played Pokemon knows what I'm talking about. And if you don't, well, maybe next time. Buy a 2DS and get Heart Gold or Soul Silver and get Pokemon Platinum or Diamond and Pearl. Pokemon Black should be last on your list of DS games, but Platinum and Soul Silver and Heart Gold and Diamond and Pearl should be tied for first. Those should be your picks, right? Anyways. Why not the Rams? Second best player in the league in Aaron Donald. He's the second best player in the league and the second best Aaron in the league. Wow. They have a quarterback who's ready to prove something. They may have the best coach in the league. But like their city, there are bright lights and showmanship and face value. But where's the culture? I see headlines, but no culture. San Francisco, they don't even play in San Francisco, so they're not going to be that good this year. They're going to be good this year. Again, the NFC is going to be a very good conference. I think NFC or AFC, I think the NFC from top to bottom overall is a better conference, and we saw that in how they won the Super Bowl last year. And how they won it. Let me think. So, Chiefs and then Patriots won it, if I'm not mistaken. AFC may have more Super Bowls within the last 10 years, but NFC is a better conference. Then it was Philadelphia. No, Philadelphia. Yeah, Philadelphia. Who's before Philadelphia? That's where I go blank. Goes Philadelphia, and then the Patriots won it, didn't they? Against the Falcons. if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, Philadelphia Patriots, Chiefs. Who'd the Patriots play in the Super Bowl? The Rams. They played the Rams. Anyways, Cardinals have no clue, I believe. Kyler Murray is good. D-Hop is good. As Austin said, Amari Cooper, AJ Green is going to be very good. They have a solid defense, but where's the culture? And I don't know. The word of the day for the NFC West is culture. Ravens, Cowboys, Super Bowl. Who wins it? I don't know. I give those predictions mid-season. How about that? It may change. It may not be the Ravens and Cowboys anymore. Word of the day for the NFC West is culture. The words. Did I say words or words? The word of the day for the WNBA is 3 and 4. Because, well, that's 3 words. So it's not the word of the day. But the 3rd and 4th seed, it's going down. If you want to see a close battle for the 3rd and 4th seeds, the 5th seed and 4th seed really aren't that close in both conferences, but the 3rd and 4th seed in the East and the West are very close. In the East, you have the Liberty with Sabrina Ionescu and the Mystics, 2019 WNBA champions. I speak fast sometimes and I speak slow sometimes. Excuse me, please. Liberty, I believe, are 1 game up. In the West, we have the first dynasty in basketball I ever witnessed with the Lynx, who was in 3rd place. And in most people's minds, the GOAT Diana Taurasi and just some 6'9" baller, I believe, named, what's her name? Brittany Griner? I don't know. She dunks or whatever, something like that. But the Liberty and Mystics are, as I said before, 1 game apart. The Liberty just played the Mystics. The Liberty have just played more games, and that's why they're up on the Mystics. The Lynx, 1 game above the Mercury. They have 1 game in hand over the Lynx. Mystics have 2 games in hand over the Liberty, so the Liberty are currently 1 game up, but if the Mystics win 2 more games, win the 2 games they have in hand, they're good, right? With the Lynx and Liberty actually played last night. Great scheduling by the WNBA. Premier League should take notes. The Lynx beat the Liberty. Luckily, the Liberty were very fortunate where the Mystics played the Sun, the hottest team in the WNBA right now, in my opinion. Probably not in my opinion, probably in almost everyone's opinion. In the Battle of the Elements last night, the Sparks beat the Fever. The Mercury beat the Sky. The WNBA is very hot. With the Fever, the Sun, the Mercury. It's a very hot league, everyone. Check it out, if you don't already. And with that, I'm going to end the Peng Sports Podcast. Thank you, Austin. And thank you for listening. And thank you, world. This has been the Peng Sports Podcast, episode 27. It's 8:29 a.m. Started late, but finished on time. Once again, thank you. Peng Sports Podcast, episode 27.